when you do this work, you're passionate about this work, you want to believe that the work is going to make a difference. So when you do this work, you have to believe that it's going to matter if people see the work. The question of where they see the work, do they see it on the walls of a museum, do they see it in a magazine, do they see it in a book, how much attention they put to the work, how much they allow themselves to relate to the work. So your dream as when you're making work is that you're going to connect people to the issue, to the people, and to become involved in some ways that you can't anticipate or predict. So yes, you hope for those connections. I think archives are incredibly valuable for us to look back and to try to understand our present in relation to our past. So there are different kinds of archives. There are individual archives. I work a lot with the work I've done previously and go back to work and try and sometimes make work that references, like the Carnival Strippers has a partner project 20 years later called Pandora's Box, which was looking at the sex industry from a very different angle, in a sense. So my own archive, and then of course I've also worked on collecting archives with the Kurdish community over 100 years and others, bringing work together, different kinds of perspectives. And again, understanding the times that we're living in relation to what has changed. So I think they're always rich in association. It's impressive. This show is impressive that there have been serious photographers throughout Latin America, women working for a long time, for decades, whose work comes from a very special and deep place in relation to the history they've lived. So they're responding to the trauma artistically, journalistically, aesthetically, formally, emotionally. And I think what's interesting is that we keep discovering more work that's been done, that's been hidden over time. So women in Mexico are more present today than they were 20 or 40 years ago with a photo festival. So I think it's very important where the work is presented, how open and inclusive it is to the community that surrounds the festival. Those are the critical questions for festivals to address. So the first photograph I showed was of a time-lapse portrait of myself that I rediscovered in the midst of doing kind of a retrospective that's been traveling in the last 2 years. And I was so surprised because essentially it was kind of the essence of how I work and how I think today, though I made that photograph 47 years ago. So what the photograph speaks to is a kind of approach, which is to be invisible and present simultaneously. And that's, I think, the way I feel most comfortable working as a photographer. Traditionally, a portrait photographer is interactional or directorial, and I'm more comfortable capturing moments, not constructing them or directing them. So it speaks well to what's been my lifetime as a photographer, working.
Gobierno de México.